Hey guys, Coach Nick here with the 10-0 Mindset, where my goal is to provide you with all of the tools, resources, and support that you need to create happier and healthier gymnastics. I'm so glad that you're here because in today's episode, we're going to discuss one of every gymnastics coach's favorite topics, mental toughness. Mental toughness is a phrase that gets thrown around quite a bit in gymnastics and other competitive sports, but I feel like we hear it a lot more in gymnastics. It's this sort of almost mystical concept, this ultimate attribute that separates average and elite gymnasts. The truth is, I believe that there's actually very few people who could explain what mental toughness is, what skills comprise it, and how to practice and improve those mental skills. So what is mental toughness? Well, mental toughness can be defined as an innate and learned psychological edge that consists of attributes such as motivation, confidence, and focus. The attributes are marked by a collection of mentally tough values, attitudes, beliefs, emotions, and self-regulation skills. Having this mentally tough psychological edge can help you cope more effectively with the troublesome, difficult, and negative aspects of competitive sports, and can enable you to successfully adapt to demanding, challenging, and positive competitive situations as well. Ultimately, acquiring these mental toughness attributes and mentally tough values, attitudes, beliefs, emotions, and skills will allow you to display the desired mentally tough behaviors that include consistently producing high-level performances when you need them the most, and doing the little things necessary for your success. When we think about mental toughness, we can break it down into 5 key components and 3 key attributes. First, let's talk for a little bit about the 5 key components of mental toughness. These components include having tough values, tough attitudes, tough beliefs, tough emotions, and tough skills. If you're anything like me, when I first heard about these 5 components, I was like, they all sound like the exact same thing. And while they are all related, there are some slight differences that we should be aware of. First up is tough values. Tough values are the motives, goals, and desired outcomes that mentally tough athletes possess as they attempt to achieve in competitive situations. For example, mentally tough athletes are motivated by a strong, internal desire to succeed. They appreciate that being focused for competition requires great effort and preparation, value their grit and determination, and are passionate about gymnastics, while recognizing that other aspects of their life are important too. Second is tough attitudes. Attitudes are the perceptions that mentally tough athletes have about themselves and the competitive environment. For example, mentally tough athletes perceive themselves to possess unique strengths that set them apart from their competitors. They view themselves as capable of being one of the very best in gymnastics, think of themselves as being able to push through their perceived limits, and consistently raise the bar regarding their performance. Next up is tough beliefs. Tough beliefs are the convictions and expectations that mentally tough athletes hold to be true about themselves and the competitive environment. For example, mentally tough athletes believe 100% in their ability to respond to challenges. They expect themselves to thrive under pressure, believe in their abilities to stay relaxed and block out personal problems during competition, and expect to start performing well again in a matter of time when they struggle. Moving on to tough emotions. Tough emotions are the psychological and physiological feelings that mentally tough athletes experience in response to competitive situations. For example, mentally tough athletes feel positive and even more determined to succeed when faced with adversity, are not overwhelmed by feelings of pressure to meet others' expectations of them, feel capable of responding to uncontrollable events that happen to them during competition, and can experience some satisfaction when they notice improvement in their routines, regardless of whether they win or not. Finally, the last component is tough skills. Tough skills are the plans, strategies, and actions that mentally tough athletes use to regulate their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in competitive situations. For example, mentally tough athletes stay confident during meets, whether they are performing well or not. They remain calm and do not overthink in pressure situations, and they quickly forget about their mistakes and mentally let them go, centering their thoughts on aspects of their performance that they can control. These 5 components, having tough values, attitudes, beliefs, emotions, and skills, make us more capable of demonstrating the 3 key attributes of mentally tough athletes, which we're going to talk about now. Recent research has revealed that mentally tough athletes possess a number of common psychological attributes, regardless of the sport that they play. In addition to those mentally tough values, attitudes, beliefs, emotions, and skills, there are 3 key mentally tough attributes: motivation, confidence, and focus. Let's start off with a brief overview of motivation. Motivation is characterized by possessing an insatiable, internal desire to succeed, having a disciplined, goal-directed orientation, being competitive with yourself and others, and owning a determined, go-the-extra-mile work ethic. There are 6 main types of motivation. The first is an intrinsic motivation to know. This means engaging in an activity for the pleasure and satisfaction that one experiences while learning, exploring, or trying to understand something new. For example, athletes primarily motivated in this manner do gymnastics because they experience sheer pleasure while learning new training techniques or discovering new performance strategies. Second is an intrinsic motivation to accomplish, which means engaging in an activity for the pleasure and satisfaction that one experiences when attempting to accomplish or create something. For example, athletes primarily motivated in this manner might do gymnastics because they experience personal satisfaction while mastering difficult training techniques or perfecting their abilities. Our last intrinsic motivation is the intrinsic motivation to experience stimulation. This refers to engaging in an activity to experience stimulating sensations derived from one's engagement. For example, athletes primarily motivated in this manner might do gymnastics because it's fun and exciting and they enjoy the feeling of being totally immersed in the activity or the movement itself. Moving from intrinsic motivation to extrinsic motivation, you'll notice that the motivation comes from an external source instead of something inside the athlete. First up is extrinsic motivation from internal pressures. We're talking about engaging in behavior that is reinforced through internal pressures such as anxiety or guilt. With this type of motivation, athletes internalize pressures that formerly came from external sources. For example, athletes primarily motivated in this manner might do gymnastics because they feel external pressure to be the best and desire to avoid feelings of embarrassment. Another type of extrinsic motivation is the extrinsic motivation from external pressures, which refers to engaging in behavior that is completely controlled by external sources. With this type of motivation, athletes attempt to gain rewards and avoid negative consequences. For example, athletes primarily motivated in this manner might do gymnastics not for fun, but exclusively to obtain monetary rewards and praise from others, or to avoid criticism from their coaches or disapproval from their parents. Finally, amotivation refers to engaging in behavior that is neither intrinsically or extrinsically rewarded. Amotivated athletes often feel helpless and do not perceive a connection between their actions and the outcome of their actions. In this motivational state, athletes often feel incompetent and no longer identify any good reasons for continuing to train. Think for a moment and see if you can determine what it is that you're motivated by. Is it something internal or is it something external? Is it knowledge, accomplishment, stimulation, internal pressures, or external pressures? Maybe you're completely lacking motivation at this moment. Again, this episode is just to be an introduction to mental toughness. In our next episode, we'll cover motivation in depth and strategies that you can use to make your motivation more mentally tough. Our next attribute of mental toughness is confidence. Confidence is characterized by believing in one's ability to achieve goals, having faith in one's ability to reach potential, revealing one's competence, and wanting to be the person that makes the difference. Further, sport confidence refers to the belief or degree of certainty that athletes usually possess about their ability to be successful in their sport. This belief or degree of certainty is a trait and is therefore considered to be a type of global self-confidence. For example, athletes who possess a high amount of sport confidence are likely to believe in their ability to execute the skills necessary to be successful. They believe in their ability to perform under pressure and their ability to achieve their competitive goals. They believe in their ability to meet the challenge of competition compared to the most confident athlete they know. Take a moment to reflect on your gymnastics. Do you demonstrate a high degree of sport confidence? How certain are you in your abilities? We'll cover it in another episode, but what do you think are some strategies that you can use to increase your confidence? Finally, our third attribute of mental toughness is focus. Focus is characterized by thinking clearly and in the present moment, concentrating on the task at hand, ignoring internal and external distractions, and regaining mental control following unexpected, uncontrollable events. A mentally tough athlete who demonstrates focus has an intense ability to be so engrossed in his or her performance that nothing else matters. Sometimes, however, there are factors that can detract from that focus. Let's talk about some of those factors. Keep in mind that mentally tough athletes are able to control these factors and reduce them at will. The first factor is performance worries. This refers to distracting thoughts that athletes might experience related to worry and negative self-evaluation over performance and competition. For example, athletes distracted by these thoughts during a competition might think about previous mistakes that they have made. They might think about having a bad day or not being able to win. The second factor is irrelevant thoughts. Irrelevant thoughts are distracting thoughts that athletes might experience that are not related to performance or the execution of the task at hand. For example, athletes distracted by these thoughts during a competition might think about other people, such as their friends, what they're going to do later in the day, or personal issues. Our final focus factor is thoughts of escape. Thoughts of escape are distracting thoughts that athletes might experience related to not wanting to participate or wanting to withdraw from competition. For example, athletes distracted by these thoughts during a competition might think about quitting, or being fed up with the competition, or not wanting to go out there. Again, we'll cover strategies for practicing and increasing motivation, confidence, and focus in the next few episodes. I know that these strategies are going to make an immediate, noticeable difference in your gymnastics and in your mental state while you're participating in gymnastics. Until then, see you next time.